I guess it's still morning, Alan. Good morning, ladies
Yes, it
and
is.
gentlemen. Welcome to the Future of the Water Industry and the Careers You Didn't Know About podcast. And I'm your host, Dave Kosminski. And we are live on location at the Saratoga Hilton up in Saratoga Springs, New York. And with me in the house is an old friend of mine from Tighe Bond, Mr. Alan Wells. Hi, Alan. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, good morning, Dave.
Oh,
Glad to be
fantastic.
glad to be here.
Thank you for coming, taking time out of your schedule to come to the conference and sharing your knowledge.
Absolutely.
So tell me about your day job, man.
Well, I've been an engineer, a civil engineer for, almost coming up on 40 years now. And I'm currently at Tighe Bond, a senior project manager there, handling lots of water and wastewater infrastructure projects,
Okay.
from planning to design to construction administration. So, lots of never a dull day.
Well, the water industry, and that's the whole premise of me doing the podcast, is to try to develop some succession planning. In the water industry, as you know, the gray tsunami, or what we call it, in our case, is the bald tsunami, is coming up quickly, and we got to start refilling with the pipeline, and getting these positions filled, within the water industry, and basically I get it out to all of the high school guidance counselors, and we have a YouTube channel, and college freshmen and so forth. But we need to let them know about the awesome careers that are available in this industry. So tell me, how did you get your education path to get to what you're doing now?
Well, it's funny. We've talked about this a bit. I think so many people in this business never really, as a kid, were thinking I'm going to be a water or a wastewater engineer or an operator or a utility owner. It's, even though it's something that we all use every day, essential for life and public health, it's it just wasn't on the forefront, at least as a young person, as a career opportunity, which is crazy.
Well, the water industry, people take it for granted. You open up the faucet and they expect the water to come out, and it does, and so forth. But nobody realizes the backstory of what goes into making all that happen.
But I think there were, little opportunities that opened up my eyes to it. I always knew I wanted to be an engineer. My father was an engineer for IBM, and we grew up right here in New York in the Hudson Valley. So IBM had a huge presence, and it felt like everybody just worked for IBM. That's what you did, and he was a mechanical engineer, and I was always fascinated by it. My dad was a hands-on guy, always working in the garage, so mechanical things just so interested me. That we would go to, IBM had the family days, and you got to see what they did. And at that time, they were manufacturing mainframe computers right there in Kingston, and it was so intriguing. So mechanical engineer. I knew at a young age engineer, which was a great thing. I know there's a lot of people who, and I understand it, just they're not sure what they want to do. So I was very fortunate. At least I sort of had my dad as a role model. And, I knew that I wanted a technical career. And that's really what, I thought I would be, designing cars or something mechanical. And that's about as much as I had as a vision when I went off to school. And I was a mechanical engineer in school. That's how I started out. And I went to Northeastern University, which of course has an excellent cooperative education program. They really started that whole trend. Which was so valuable because, right after your freshman year, you're getting an internship.
Sure, absolutely. And those internships usually turned into employment.
Absolutely. And it did, but not in the field that I thought I was going to be in, So my first internship was at Draper Laboratories in Cambridge, Massachusetts, which still exist. And they, it's funny, as an intern, they did a lot of military Department of Defense work. So security levels were very strict. And as an intern, I remember you get a pink card, which meant you had the lowest level of security. Even the, people responsible for cleaning the building had higher security than I did as an intern. So I had very little idea of what I was actually doing. My job was essentially I would get drawings with markups, or I would be told to create a drawing, but I never knew what the part was for or what the whole purpose of it was. And you spent all day at the time they dimmed the lights in those CAD rooms just so you could see the computer screens. They weren't as good as they were today. And I didn't like it. That was a boring way to spend a day, I thought. So I started to get a little disenchanted with it. And then some of those mechanical engineering courses started getting, for me, harder and harder.
Yes.
Thermodynamics was not something I was really enjoying. And I'm like, geez, maybe this isn't really the field I want to be in. And I remember I was afraid my dad would be disappointed, but he was like, no, he goes, absolutely not. That's why you're there. Like, find your path. You learn as much from things you don't like as things you do like.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, it's amazing. I've in all of the podcasts that I've done. 95% of the people that have gotten into the industry got into the industry by happenstance. Okay, it's the my father worked there, or my father knew a guy, or I knew a guy that and lo and behold, the door opens and oh my gosh, there's a whole new world in here.
Yeah.
You know.
So I mean, I learned a lot at that job, and they were good skills, and just learning how to work in an office environment. But I went to my advisor at the time and sort of shared my frustrations, or I wouldn't say I was like, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know. I wasn't really feeling it.
Yeah.
And he goes, Al, you're a person. I don't know what this says about mechanical engineers, but he goes, you're so personable. You really like interacting with people and the public. He goes, I think you'd like civil engineering better. And I mean, I don't want to disparage mechanical engineering because I'm sure there were plenty of opportunities that maybe I was not exposed to that could have gotten me some of that interaction that maybe I was striving or, looking for.
Sure.
But he suggested I transfer to the civil engineering department, which I did. And like just immediately, everything was more tangible to me. What? In mechanical engineering, you're working on these, and for me, it was these small little parts. I never knew what they were what they were for. But civil engineering, it's like, oh, I get this. Like we need drinking water. Here is the infrastructure you need for it.
Sure.
And I could visualize it. It was tangible. So I just started falling in love with that. And then I got my first civil engineering internship.
Okay.
And it just confirmed all of that. I'm like, oh, this is like, we are going out to these towns. We're learning or meeting the owners of these utilities and the managers responsible for them. And there was sort of that public trust that made me feel good to do something to benefit the public.
Sure.
And, so it all was just clicking. The advisor was absolutely right.
Now, how did you find your way to Tighe Bond?
I spent most of my career. My first job was at SEA Consultants, and then they were acquired by Kleinfelder. But together, my time at SEA, and they were right there in Cambridge, Mass. So that again, northeastern Boston.
Oh yeah.
So I spent, probably 30 years between SEA and Kleinfelder. Who acquired SCA. But Kleinfelder was a much bigger company than SCA. SCA was a smaller New England-based company.
Right.
And Kleinfelder, again, great company, but just bigger. Maybe it kind of speaks to what I like about civil engineering, being local, helping communities.
Sure.
And I was just looking for that, and I knew a few folks who were at Tighe Bond, and they're like, it's going to feel, I think, a lot like what you like so much about the company that you first interned at as a civil engineer, SEA Consultants.
Yes.
And it absolutely did, and even better, because, Tighe Bond just was more established than SEA was in New England.
Right.
And they've got such deep resources, especially in the water business line and all their other service lines. But no, it was a natural fit. I loved it. I felt very fortunate to get the opportunity to work there, and it's been great ever since. So I've been there for 7 years now.
Nice. Now, when you were with Kleinfelder, was Lendy on with Kleinfelder?
He was not at the time, and I think he came after I left.
Oh,
but
okay.
No, great guy.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I recruited Len quite a few years ago, but great guy. What types of projects are you working on now?
Right now, I think like a lot of folks, a lot of PFAS treatment projects, right, which are all have their unique challenges.
That's the elephant in the room.
Yeah, but they're all obviously very important, very interesting, and the water quality considerations at each of these different sites have their various challenges.
Sure.
So that's we're helping Connecticut Water with those. Quite a few different sites, but we're also in terms of like big infrastructure projects, we're right in the middle of one with Regional Water Authority.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which has been really interesting. It is a large water distribution system improvement on one of their largest water mains that feeds the downtown New Haven area.
Okay, yeah.
So that has been very interesting. So, yeah, that's what's keeping me busy right now.
Yeah, for sure. All right, fantastic. All right.
All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this episode of the Future of the Water and Wastewater Industry, the careers you didn't know about. I'm your host, Dave Kosminski. And again, we are live on location at the Saratoga Springs Hilton at Saratoga, New York for the annual CTAWWA CWWA conference. And ladies and gentlemen, from Tighe Bond, Mr. Alan Wells was in the house. Thanks again, Alan. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave.
All righty. That is all.